Hey boys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're gonna be talking about the brand new Vanguard familiar for Sasuke. I know it's not out yet, but I'm kind of busy in the upcoming days, so I will be talking about this familiar before it's out. But honestly, you don't need for it to be out to even talk about it in the first place, because I've seen a lot of people trash talk this familiar just because the damage buff on the familiar itself is not that big. Sure, that's true. As you guys can see right here, the damage buff for this familiar is only 400%, and that's not really that great for a release unit. As you guys can see, this guy's dealing 11,000 damage compared to, let's see one of the new units. There we go. I'm sure Wonder Review is a good example. Yeah, as you guys can see, both without Monarch, by the way, that's a big gap. But that's, you guys only see the damage, and that's not everything about this familiar. Actually, that's the least thing in this familiar, because this passive right here is actually way more insane than you guys think. The Arc of Lightning, which is this, by the way. We got a GIF that shows us exactly what this Arc of Lightning is. It's very similar to Aizen Aura. It is a little different, but considering this is actually it has a decent range on the track itself. It's not just a small aura on the unit, and also it behaves differently, because if we read the Wielder of Lightning, this unit creates an Arc of Lightning between itself and one spark unit in range. So basically, any spark unit in the game, if it is in the range of Sasuke himself will create an arc between those two units. So let's go ahead in game to show you guys an example of this. Okay, so let's say we got Sasuke over here. His range is atrocious on placement, by the way. But let's say we got Aizen over here. Now, if we want to create this arc, let's say we place Sasuke. Did I just say Aizen? Whatever, just ignore that. Let's say we place Sasuke in here, right? We just place Sasuke in here, and then we upgrade him a little bit, sure, whatever. And then we place Lizard, our second spark unit, over here. Now what will happen is we will get an arc or a line between those two units in here, and it will actually hit every single enemy that walks in this line over here. It's not really a good time to have a very shiny cosmetic, but yeah, in this line over here we will have an arc, and every time the enemies pass through this arc, we will actually deal damage to them. So let's go back to the passive and let's read it more. So this unit creates an arc, as we said, of lightning between itself and one spark unit in range. This arc deals 40% of this unit's damage per second. So every time, as long as they are still in this line, every time they walk past this line, they will be getting 40% of Sasuke's damage every second. So the longer they take while walking here, the more damage this unit will be dealing. And more importantly, this arc, when you're walking past this arc and you're getting this 40% of this unit's damage per second, this counts as an attack. What does that mean? It means that it does everything that the normal unit does, meaning it actually, those passives work on the damage taken from this arc. So what does that mean? It means that the arc actually stuns. So when you're walking past that arc, you're getting stunned. As you guys can see, all attacks inflict stun on enemies, and the arc counts as an attack, which means it will inflict stuns. One more thing is damage plus 50% to enemies that have been stunned. Guess what? This works on all attacks, meaning when you are walking past this arc and you are stunned, because the arc does stun, you will get plus 50% damage. And also there is a damage plus 2% with each consecutive attack. Guess what? This works for the arc as well, because it counts as an attack. Just make sure to always read passives, because it's very, very important. Now let's go back to the beginning, to the first passive. This passive is pretty straightforward, so we don't have to talk about it that much. But let's go back to this passive and let's do some math. We got the Monarch version of this unit doing 48,000 damage. So let's see how much it will be doing with the familiar. So according to ChatGPT, the unit is going to be dealing around 240,000 damage with the familiar. Now obviously that's not really that good in today's standards. His DPS will be around 35,000 to 34,000, so it's not that great, right? But if we do the math here, we got the arc that will constantly give this unit 50% damage. basically what that mean is this unit will almost have a constant 50% damage, because I'm like 99% sure that the unit doesn't have to be stunned at that second, because as you guys know, let me just spawn a strong enemy to show you guys something. As you guys know, the stun effect has a cooldown, and when that cooldown is still going, the unit itself that got stunned will have a marker, as you guys can see there, that stunned marker. I'm pretty sure that when this stunned marker is still above the unit's head, it means that it will still be getting that 50% buff from the passive. I'm like 1% not sure, 99% sure that this is true. Okay, so I just got confirmation from the tester. It's actually currently bugged, but it is true what I said. When the enemy is on stun lockout, which is the thing that appears on the enemies above the enemy's head when they get stunned, the passive works, and it should deal 50% extra damage. So here, as you guys can see, the enemy is on stun lockout. That attack should have done that 50% extra damage, but it didn't because it's currently bugged. But it will be fixed, of course, when the familiar is actually available for use for everyone. But yeah, so when the enemy is either stunned or on stun lockout. What is stun lockout? It's basically when the enemy gets stunned, there is a stun cooldown, and when that cooldown is still on, the enemy will have this stun effect above their head. When that effect is above their head, it means that Sasuke is able to deal 50% more damage to that enemy. And also, as we mentioned, this arc of lightning is considered an attack, right? Which means when the enemy is either stunned on stun lockout, the arc will also deal a 50% extra damage. Obviously not 50% of the unit's damage itself, but 50% extra damage of the 40% extra damage that the arc is dealing. So the arc is originally doing 96,000 damage without any per second, without any changes, without any of the passives getting on the way. But if we include the damage plus 50% part of the passive, which will almost be always happening, by the way, because with Sasuke on the map, 90% of the times the enemies will be either stunned or on stun lockout, so it's almost constant, this buff for both the units and the arc. So with this passive, with this 50% passive to the arc will be dealing around 144,000 per second. Yeah, you heard me right, 144,000 per second for the arc. And let's go back to Sasuke. As we mentioned, with the familiar, he's gonna be dealing around 240,000 raw damage. Now if we include this passive, so when enemies are either stunned or on stun lockout, this unit will be dealing 360,000 damage. The unit itself, now add the 144,000 damage from the lockout, and DPS will be 51,000 for the unit itself, and also the 144,000 per second from the arc. And we also got the second familiar, or the second passive. What am I talking about? The second passive Wave of the Snake, which is plus 20% with each consecutive attack. And with consecutive attack, we mean the unit itself and the arc. So every time the enemies are walking on the arc, they're getting that plus 2% with every second they are in the arc. And also every time the unit attack, they get another 2% every time the unit's attacks as well. So the damage this unit will be accumulating is way more than you are imagining right now. And last but not least, we got this dramatic entrance, which is some sort of a filler passive, to be honest, but it's still very good because on placement, this unit attacks all enemies in range once. So it's a full AoE attack once every time you place the unit. Now, it's not that great for damage, but it is a full AoE stun that you can use if you are in trouble or you are playing in tourney or something or whatever. So yeah, it's a filler passive, but it's a great thing to have nonetheless. And yeah, with this, what we found out in this video can prove to you that this Vanguard familiar is actually way better than you think, because the raw damage may look like it's low, and it is low, but when you accumulate and use the passives and do some math, you will realize that this unit is actually pretty good and still up there with as a very strong unit. And also keep in mind that this unit is originally a 4 placement. So okay, I can how do I make this unit for placement? Hold up, let me restart. Okay, as you guys know, this unit is actually for placement, so it is actually still usable without Monarch as either a crowd control unit with constant stunning, or you can just use Deadeye and try to max out as many of those Sasukes as possible. It's still a very strong unit traitless. So yeah, that's it for the video. I hope the showcases after the Vanguard formula becomes available are even clearer than this, but unfortunately I can't do that. And yeah, that's it for the video, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you in the next one.